Look, I have to admit, guys, after all this time, I still don't understand the mainstream media's obsession with not allowing criticism of Biden, right? Like, there is some genuine, like, real concern from people who do not want Trump to win under any circumstances, where they're like, I just want a better candidate who I feel more comfortable could actually beat Trump, right? And they treat this like heresy, like blasphemy. Jon Stewart the other day, he came out in his first show back. He went after both Trump and Biden for their age and how they're forgetful and they're kind of sundowning. And he didn't do a full false equivalence and say they're the same in every way. He made very clear that Trump is worse. But the fact that he went after Biden at all led to a resistance liberal meltdown. I mean, they treated Jon Stewart like public enemy number one for stating the obvious about 33% approval rating Joe Biden, okay? So, but here I have just the platonic ideal of this mindset taken to its logical conclusion. So here's the view. They're going to get incredibly frustrated with and dismissive of the idea that replacing Biden is probably a good idea. They're going to just circle the wagons and go to work for Joe here to try to protect him from any and all criticism, even reasonable criticism, about how he's doing mentally. So let's watch and we'll break it down as we go.
Take a look.
My bet is 30 days from now, I don't think Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. You look at, the report that came out, then he does the press conference where he was angry, and then he has another confused moment. Then he doesn't do the interview today that's awarded to every president for 25 minutes before the Super Bowl. And you see the Democrats starting to melt down. I wish Joe Biden well. I really do. But the Democrats, in the best interest of their party and our country, they need to find a new nominee.
The only thing she said that was wrong is that, like, this is going to happen. In 30 days, he won't be the nominee. That's the only thing she said that was wrong. Everything else was right. Now, by the way, I understand that the source matters, right? So if Nikki Haley says that, the reaction is going to be a little different than if somebody like Jon Stewart says that. But you know what? That's actually not true, because they react the same way whether Jon Stewart says it and it comes from a place of genuine concern and wanting to be Trump, or Nikki Haley says it for whatever sort of weird, nefarious motivation she has, right? But wait, we're just getting started.
Is she going to be around for the next 30 days? I mean...
That's actually a good burn. She's not going to be. If she is around, it's just because she's hanging in there hoping Trump will be put in prison and she could, like, win by default or something like that.
She's not going to be the nominee either.
What does she think's going to happen in 30 days?
She needs to take several seats.
Well, my bet is that in 12 days, that's when the Republican primary in South Carolina, her home state is.
Yeah.
My bet is that in 12 days, she's going to get beaten like a bongo drum in her home state by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And my bet is that she's not going to be the Republican nominee. So if you want to put money on it, hey, Nikki, I'm betting on Joe, not on you.
Yeah.
She won't be the Republican nominee. It's glaring signs here, but she's raising something that we talked about Friday and I do think is important. I talked to friends left, right, and center, and there is very real fear for people like us who cannot see Donald Trump be president again. I testified against him to the Department of Justice. I am fearful for what it would mean for this country. This weekend, he put out a screed that evoked Nazi-like language about how this is the final battle and I'm not even going to predict more. And I am worried that the best fighter Democrats think they could put forward is somebody where there's glaring warning signs like Joe Biden.
The thing I don't see, though, is I totally hear all the concerns, because the percentages, I know you don't love polls, so earmuffs with me, but the polls are scary. There's like 37% of Democrats say they want him to seek a second term, but that's down from 52% just 2 years ago. 86% of Americans think Biden's too old. 73% of Democrats think Biden's too old. These numbers are scary, and the thing is, I don't see a plan B. I don't see any world in which there's anything else we could.
Listen, the reason the polls are what they are is because Democrats are buying into the narrative that Republicans are creating and amplifying.
No.
They are the ones, giving this.
That is such Bullshit. That is so untrue. Yeah, the reason why the polls are where they are is because everybody's just buying into the propaganda from Republicans. Or it's because people have eyes and they have ears and they can follow the news. And, oh, would you look at that? It turns out Joe Biden said he talked to somebody who died in 1996 the other day. He meant to say he was talking to like Macron or something, and he said Mitterrand, who died in 1996. He called Sisi the president of Mexico. That's the president of Egypt. He also brought up Helmut Kohl, who is another statesman who died a really long time ago. Guys, it's not like... In the same way that Republicans need to stop dismissing any criticism of Trump as Trump derangement syndrome, liberals need to stop dismissing any criticism of Biden as like a bad faith criticism. There's a lot of us out here who care deeply, first and foremost, about making sure Trump never gets into the White House. And these are the people who are the loudest at the moment saying, Jesus Christ, what are we doing? Biden has a 33% approval rating. He's losing Latinos to Trump by 4 points. He's losing young people to Trump by 4 points. His support among the Arab and Muslim American community has plummeted down to 17%. He's losing in 6 of the 7 swing states, and that's the better polls. In some polls, it's 7 of the 7. When people point that out, it's not, oh, you're just buying into Republican propaganda. People point that out because they're genuinely concerned, and they're saying anybody else could beat Trump. Generic Democrat in a poll beats Trump by 13 points. Oh, my God. I make these say, I'm such a broken record, guys. I know I'm such a broken record. But it's like you have to be, because they keep saying the same dumb shit, so I have to keep giving the same responses.
They are the ones, giving this so much credence. I think Joe Biden needs to do what Mitt Romney did on religion, what Obama did on race. Gave a speech on age.
Oh.
He's not going to get any younger.
Oh,
Go out there
terrible
and say,
idea.
Yes, I'm 81 years old. But you know what? The other guy's got 91 counts that he's indicted.
Well, that's a fair point.
Yes,
Give a speech on age. Imagine a Joe Biden speech on age. Look, Jack, I want to talk about the thing everybody says about when I was, let me tell you a story. When I was vice president, Barack Obama, he talked to me. He said, Joe, I better not talk about that. But what I think about the age is when people talk about age is a number, but it's nothing but a number. It was anyway. Joe Biden giving his speech on age would not go well. To be fair to Navarro here, the point about, he's got 91 criminal charges. I think that is a fair reaction, right? It's what, I don't think he could spin the age thing as an advantage because 86% of the country thinks he can't do a second. 86% of the country thinks he can't do a second term. Like, what's next? New poll is going to be like 94%. That's insane. So you're never going to be able to spin it as an advantage. But yeah, to highlight like, all right, you guys got issues with me. Homie over here got 91 criminal charges. He's going to prison, right? Like that is actually a decent response. All right, let's keep going.
yes, I'm 81 years old, and that's 81 years of wisdom, of compassion, of lived experience, of losing a child, of going through the things that all Americans go through. It's 81 years of knowing the difference between dictators and allies. Well, it's 81
Oh,
years.
stop it. Biden is currently arming and funding Netanyahu as he does a genocide. He's not going to be able to do this fake moral high ground shit about like, oh, Trump praises dictators. And you're arming a guy who's carpet bombing babies. So like, that's such a bullshit argument. All right, let's keep going.
There's only one person running who's fighting hard for women to have more rights, not
Can I
less
say
rights.
one thing, though, is, listen, if the election were held today, Joe Biden would overwhelmingly win the popular vote. I think by the most historic margin in history. I want to be clear about that.
That's not true. The polls do not show that. They show he's down by 1.9 percentage points at the moment. So even if he outperforms the polls, he's still probably going to have a lower margin of victory than he had in 2020 when he won by 7 million votes in the popular vote. I don't know where these people get this shit from.
We know our electoral system. 7 swing states and basically a handful, hundreds of thousands of people are going to determine who the next president is. You guys have acknowledged Republicans are often better at the messaging game. I just want to underscore, I'm not saying, like, I don't want Trump to win, but we can't just rely on how unlikely.
Let me just put it this way. I want to give you 8 things this forgetful old man remembered to do.
Yeah.
Historic investments in clean energy and health care with inflation reduction. He brought COVID relief with the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure deal, the $52 billion CHIPS Act, got the first over-the-counter birth control pill approved, signed the first significant gun safety law in 30 years, that got the first black woman onto the Supreme Court. Student loan debt. Listen, when Joe Biden doesn't do his job, when you can point to something that he hasn't gotten done, I don't care that he didn't remember to tell you when his beloved son died. I don't care because that's none of your business. When this man missteps for the nation, then we have a problem. And as long as people say, well, he's too old, well, Nikki, what have you done? What have you done, really? What can you point to? Because this man at 81 knew he was going to be 81 in 4 years and still said, I'm going to do this anyway, and he's done it. What are you going to do?
I mean, look, the policy stuff is fair because bringing up policy is always fair. In fact, that should be what all of politics is about, the literal policy. So I actually like and respect the fact that you brought up all those policies there. But I don't know what the chastising other people is about. And look, I think the main point to get across here is stop pretending like everybody who's concerned here is doing it in bad faith, right? Like, oh, you're only talking about Joe's age and criticizing Joe because you're concern trolling like you care, but actually you're just helping Trump by bringing up Biden's age. I promise you that is not it. I promise you that is not it. Like all the criticisms we've had every step of the way is because you need to be able to beat that guy. That guy can't get back in the White House. He just can't. And these guys are overlooked. It is a legitimate. That's why 86% of the country says he can't do a second term. 86% say that. Are they all like just concern trolling and bad faith and trying to help Trump? No. That includes a lot of Biden supporters. And of course, by the way, she brings up some of the good policies there. She left out the bad ones, didn't she? She left out the fact that the expansion of the COVID era social safety net, that went away and that hurt a lot of people and that coincided with his numbers going down. She left out the material support for Benjamin Netanyahu as he carpet bombs babies and does a genocide. So look, I'm all for bringing up all the positive policies, but you better keep in mind the negative ones too. And making that point is to conclude any Democrat would be better, man. I mean, there are people who I dislike more than I dislike Joe Biden. Although now it's a little bit harder now that he's, doing Netanyahu's bidding every single day. But like any other Democrat, as I told you, generic Democrat beats Trump by 13 points in the polls. Even the worst of the worst. Because they're like, oh, there's no plan B. Not only is there a plan B, there's a plan B, there's a plan C, there's a plan D, there's a plan E. I mean, name them, right? Name them. You got J.B. Pritzker, you got Gretchen Whitmer, you got Gavin Newsom, you got Tim Walz would be awesome. He's the best governor in the country. Even the ones I don't like, Pete, Kamala, right? Like, I'm just talking forget policy for a second. Now I'm talking just sheer politics. Anybody is stronger than Joe, but they act like indignant to that point. And look, the final point I'll make here is, it's because of people like this that Biden he's basically already the nominee, right? Marianne dropped out. Dean is still in to humiliate himself. The media was never fair to Dean or Marianne or Cenk. They were never fair. They never gave anybody else a chance. They closed ranks around Biden. But it's because of voters like most of these women on The View, that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. Because they're the ones who wouldn't even entertain any other conversation because they get offended at the notion that Biden may have some weaknesses. Well, guys, I hate to say it, but that is very, very MAGA-like of them. It really is. The MAGA people, we always make fun of them for being a cult, for never acknowledging any legitimate criticisms of their guy. Well, what do you think we're watching right here? The exact same dynamic at play, even when it's a good faith criticism, even when it's because we're like, we got to be able to beat Trump. They're indignant. They don't want to hear a word of it. And they plow ahead and pretend like there's no issues. Well, whether or not they want to acknowledge it, there are issues. And I fear they're going to learn the hard way.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.